Hey everybody.
D, also known as MTF Doom here, and today we're going to talk about a deck that I've wanted to play for a long time, I finally have the cards for, and which is very unfortunately likely going to be impacted by coming nerfs. I hope you enjoy. So just before we get into it, as always, thank you so much for everyone who supports. The best way to do so is the red button down below. It says subscribe. It'll alert you mostly to when I upload new content, which is mostly daily. Those things may change. Who knows what the future holds for all of us? We are all memento moris, but for the time being, you can join in on the fun. So this deck is, I call it multi-game arcade cabinet because I am esoteric. It's a reference to a song by Open Mike Eagle, where he uses the line "We connected like Black Bolt and LockJaw," because this is a LockJaw deck. We got there. So LockJaw, if you don't know, is a 3/2. After you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck. This is the card that I mentioned. It's probably going to get nerfed, honestly. I hope it doesn't. I hope some other change happens, but this is a prime candidate for nerfing because of a deck that isn't this one that takes way too good of advantage of this effect. So for right now, again, memento mori, we are just going to enjoy this while it lasts. The idea of this deck is very much to take advantage of LockJaw. When you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck. We are just trying to play like Wasp. So on exactly turn 3, we can play LockJaw and follow it up with a 0-cost Wasp. Wasp will flip. Anything we get is better than Wasp, right? Because everything else is just a better card than Wasp. Ideally, we're looking for something like Vision, which can then move out of that lane. We're looking for something like Infinite, just to be a 0-cost 20 power. Nightcrawler is fine because it lets us move it out of the Lockjaw lane and get another roll, as it were. And Jane Foster gives us another roll by yanking Wasp back out of our deck to get put back in our hand. The other stuff we can do is, any of our Sunspot, Sunspot is fine as a way to absorb excess energy. Sunspot is also fine to shuffle away with Lockjaw. Same with Nightcrawler, you're generally not playing Nightcrawler on 1. Sometimes you'll play Sunspot on 1 and just start absorbing some energy because you do have a lot of sort of loose space in this deck. Nightcrawler you generally don't play on 1, even if you have him. You wait and see if you draw Lockjaw and use it as a 2-card combo to grab anything else out of your deck. Armor protects Sunspot, protects your Infinite-esque stuff. Lockjaw we covered. Thor is the other quite important card to this deck as far as I'm concerned. Thor is a 3/4 which shuffles Mjolnir, which when you play Mjolnir on reveal, give Thor +6 power. So Thor becomes a 3/10 with the downside normally that he kind of costs you a draw and kind of costs you a spot on the board. But if you put Mjolnir into the Lockjaw lane, none of those things are true. Thor suddenly doesn't cost you the draw and doesn't cost you the extra spot, and it's incredibly good. The combo you've probably seen is Jane Foster with Thor, because she will pull Mjolnir out of your deck for you to guarantee that you can use it on Thor. If you have this setup of by the way, in general, if you have the option of Thor or Lockjaw on 3, you go with Thor because you want to get Mjolnir in earlier. Even if you have the Lockjaw Wasp set up on 3, I would go Thor most of the time. So then you have turn 4 you go Lockjaw Wasp. Turn 5 you can Jane Foster, pull Wasp and the Mjolnir back out if you haven't already drawn it, and if you have, you just throw it back into the deck first and then play Jane Foster and pull it back out. It's incredible. This deck is a lot of fun. It can high roll really well. I think if you don't have Dracula, you might not play Infinite, because Infinite is great as a high roll off Lockjaw, but if he's stuck in your hand, you really are usually not taking turn 5 off. It isn't impossible, but it's usually not the play. I don't even know if I really like this setup. I think I might include Doom because I really like Doom, and also it's just like, okay, you play something into the LockJaw lane on 6, you put 5 power in the other 2 lanes, and then also, like, you can pull something that might have more than 5 power. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of talking myself into it. I don't know how much I like Dracula Infinite, but it is what it is for now. The core of this deck, I think Vision's very, very good. I think Nightcrawler is very good for what you're doing here. Wasp, Lockjaw, and Thor. That's and kind of Jane Foster. That's kind of the core. And maybe Jubilee too. Jubilee, interestingly, if you play into the Lockjaw deck, she on-reveals, but then she herself also shuffles away, and you get a new card. So, again, you know, just really, really good. The worst case scenario is that you do something like that, you Jubilee, and you hit Wasp, either on the Jubilee or on her on-reveal or on Lockjaw's shuffle effect. But even then, like, you know, if you look closely, you will notice the bad hits aren't any worse than the natural hits, right? Like, you're not playing Vision, Jane, Magneto, or Infinite, or really even Dracula into the Lockjaw lane. So, like, Jubilee, Armor sometimes, but not often, Nightcrawler, Sunspot, Wasp all have 1 or 2 power. So it's, like, kind of impossible to hit something worse, right? Like, the worst you can do is, like, Nightcrawler, and it gets Wasp, like, which sucks. I'm not going to deny that sucks. But very importantly, sometimes Nightcrawler hits Dracula, which is like a mid hit, right? Because you're not guaranteed to have Infinite, and I haven't found space for Chavez, though she could deserve a spot here. But I don't like going too light and too loose on the low cost, the 0 and 1 costs, but Chavez is absolutely a consideration for this deck. I'd love to have Chavez and Doom somewhere, but I don't feel like I have the space. So, yeah, the deck is sick. The deck is a lot of fun. It's a little high rolly. It's a little villainy for what I'm feeling most days. Most days these days. The meta's so kind of toxic right now that I want to play an underdog-ass hero deck. And this is just like, oh, cool. I hit Magneto on turn 3 and pulled something, and now you have to fight it, and good luck. I randomed into armor, too, so you can't destroy it. And it has a lot of turns that can go like that, but, you know, whatever. That's the nature of the game right now, isn't it? I hope you enjoy. I hope you find my content elucidating, enlightening, and enriching. If you do, as I said before, best way to let me know is clicking the buttons as they were. I have been your host, D, also known as MTF Doom. I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow.